Sector Wars, play Astro Blaster.
If you destroy my baby,
Intruder alert. The intruder must not escape.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight.
you will need a torpedo.
Prepare to qualify.
Oh, warrior needs food badly.
Lead on, adventurer. Your quest awaits.
Hey folks, Crazy Climber 80 here again, and this time we're going to look at a game called Space Race, and this was Atari's second game. It was created in 1973, and it's a discrete logic game, and discrete logic games aren't generally very well emulated, if at all, by MAME, and so I had to play this on the emulator DICE. But there is one cabinet of Space Race, and there's the other one. It's a really weird angular cabinet, but this was too old for me to remember seeing as a little kid. But this is really a dull game, even for 1973. This was developed in 1972 under the name Asteroid, and it was to be given to Bally Midway as part of a contractual agreement, but Atari released their own version called Space Race, and Midway stated it was a violation of contract, and it was, and Atari agreed to forfeit royalties for the game. Alan Alcorn and Nolan Bushnell were probably also involved in the making of this game. But it's really dull. It's a two-player only game, and each player is trying to steer a ship upwards to the top of the screen. It's very much like the later Frogger or Freeway for the Atari 2600. And you just, as soon as you reach the top with your spaceship, you get a point. But those little dashes that go across the screen, they're supposed to be like stars or something, or no, they're asteroids. They don't look like asteroids at all. But if they touch your ship, you get pushed back to the start, and you have to wait a second or two before you reappear at the bottom. And I'm controlling both first and second players. Now the asteroids will go through that line. Keep that in mind. It's kind of disorienting, that line. But the line only represents time. And once that line has disappeared, the time is up. And you cannot move your spaceship left or right, and that's really frickin' weak sauce, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, as soon as you touch an asteroid, it goes boop, and you have to wait a couple seconds until your ship reappears at the bottom. That's all the gameplay is. Really, really dull. But again, it's a bit disorienting, but you have to watch for the stars, or I keep calling them stars, the asteroids, to go through that line in the middle. They will go through it. So once you kind of train your eyes to notice that, then you can get a little bit better at this game. Yeah, whoever has the higher score at the end of the game is the winner. Even for 1973, it's really, really, really dull. And yeah, I was too young to see this in arcades back in the day. Shoot, I think the first games that I remember actually playing as a little kid were the black and white racing games like Sprint or Sprint 2, rather than this, because I would have been one. Much too young to go to the arcades. But yeah, this was Atari's second arcade game, and it's really not very good. And it didn't do particularly well in the arcades from what I hear. But there's a whole lot of discrete logic games I would love to try to play. I had to play this through DICE, And we'll play again real quick. If you're planning on recording something through dice, recording gameplay, dice and Bandicam generally do not work well with each other. If you're going to use Bandicam, you want to use the window capture option, and you can open up a little window and stretch it to fit around the dice screen. Use that option and record off of that. Don't use the game record option, because it will not want to work right. But yeah, that's all this game is. You can backtrack, you can push down to make your ship move back down. You can't make it move down from the way bottom. But you can backtrack just a little if you need to. But again, train your eyes to look through that timeline and know that the asteroids, that's so primitive, they're just little dashes, will go right through that line. It took me a minute or two to figure that out, but once I did, I was able to get more points. I'm gonna play like one more game after this, and I will just try to get as many points as I can. You know, just controlling the one player on the left. Yeah, this is just not a very good game, even for 1973. But yeah, let's try one more time. Oops, that was clumsy. But yeah, know that the asteroids, little dashes, are going to go right through that timeline. And so just keep your eyes going all over the place, even on the second player's side of the screen. And then you'll be able to get at least 10 points each time you play, probably. Yeah, not a very good game. But it's kind of interesting that even after Atari ripped off Magnavox, Magnavox's idea to make PONG, they ripped off the game that they were making for Bally Midway, Asteroid, and they made Space Race. When I think of the title Space Race, I think of a really dumb cartoon from the late 70s called Yogi's Space Race. It had Yogi Bear in it. It's pretty dumb. But yeah, this is a very, very, very dull game, even for 1973. If you remember seeing this in arcades, probably somewhere in your mid-50s or thereabouts. Leave a comment if you do remember this in arcades. But that is Space Race by Atari in 1973, their second game. But yeah, that was Space Race by Atari in 1973. I hope you have a good week the rest of the way, and I will catch you later with another video. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.